Namaste and welcome everyone to this very special series of talks on Savitri Talks with Dr. Alok Pandey. As most of you are aware, we are in the 75th year of the publication of Savitri, and we thought what better way to start a series of talks with whenever Alok Bhai is available, and maybe few other scholars of Savitri, few other sadhaks who have spent many years of their life immersing themselves deep into the secret, the mystery that Savitri is. So I'm very grateful that Alok Bhai agreed to launch of this series with these two talks today and tomorrow. And before we hear from Alok Bhai about the topic for today, which is Savitri, the epic of the dual avatar, I thought I'll just bring to our shared awareness about one particular passage from Sri Aurobindo. This is from maybe before 1920 when he was writing in Arya, the future poetry. And he talked about the epic of the future, the overhead, when he was talking about the form and spirit of the overhead poetry. He mentioned something that is so pertinent to today's topic. And he wrote that how the epics in the past have always generally been about the story of man or the world or the gods, or some sort of a vigorous representation of external action. But the future epic need not be just that. He said it need not be only about the struggle of the principles of good and evil as presented in the great Indian epic poems of the past, it could be the pageant of the centuries or the journey of the seer through the three worlds beyond us. They are just as fit themes as primitive war and adventure for the imagination of the epic creator. And then he went on to write that these would be epics of the soul, most inwardly seen as they will be by an intuitive poetry. Those would be the greatest possible subject for the overhead epic that comes from the overhead consciousness. And it is this supreme kind, he said, that we shall expect from some profound and mighty voice of the future. So when I reflect on this and I say, how blessed are we that he himself took up this work of giving us a kind of that future poetry, that overhead poetry, the epic of the soul. He went on to say that this would be the song of the greatest flight that the soul can take. So with that, I want to invite Dr. Alok Pandey to take us into this immersive journey, this immersion into this greatest song, the song of the greatest flight or the epic of the soul. As I said, today the topic will be Savitri, the epic of the dual avatar. Most everybody here knows about Dr. Alok Pandey, but I still think it is my responsibility as the host to just briefly introduce him. He's a well-known authority on Sri Aurobindo and the mother's writings, as we all know, especially on the subject of yoga psychology, education, health. He's a medical doctor with a specialization in psychiatry, and he's served in various capacities in the Indian Air Force, taking voluntary retirement before settling down permanently at Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry. He's been all over India and abroad giving talks and workshops on topics related to psychology, integral yoga, education, health. He's authored several books, too many to count here, and I don't want to take any time from listening to him. He's also the editor of the All India magazine of Sri Aurobindo Society. A prolific speaker and writer, all his writings and numerous recorded talks are available at oroma.org, both on YouTube and podcast and the website as well. So with that, let us now listen to Alok Bhai on Savitri, the epic of the dual avatar. Namaste and thank you. All yours, Alok Bhai.
Jai Ma. So let me take on from where you left about an epic. So an epic, as we know, is a long narrative poem and it has a hero. There is a of legendary proportions. Its canvas is very wide. It's not just a little battle going on in some little area, and it can include other dimensions of existence. And then, of course, there is the struggle and the victory. So that's what an epic is. And in this poem, from the epic point of view, if we see, well, it is not just a long narrative poem, but in English literature, the longest English poem. And and the battle that is shown here is, as very beautifully pointed out, a battle of the soul in its struggle towards the highest possibilities that are within it and the opponent. So all these aspects are there. But before we come to that, that Savitri is an epic of the future, but it's very fascinating. Two, three things about Savitri are very fascinating. One is that Sri Aurobindo takes up a story in far back times. And in fact, it narrated in the Mahabharata as a story belonging to the Vedic cycle. So it's as old as it can get. And he connects it to something that is yet to happen, the future. So we can take it like that, that behind all the drama and scenes of earth, there is a parallel story running as an undercurrent of life. A story on the outer side, there is the facade, there is the battle, there are struggles, difficulties, strivings, rise, fall, success, failure, as Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri. A dim, long preparation is human life, is man's life. So there is a outer aspect of the struggle which we all experience. Let me read that passage because it directly relates to all of us. So, a long, dim preparation. I'm just saving time, so I'm not going into the page numbers. A long, dim preparation is man's life, a circle of toil and hope and war and peace, dragged out by life on matter's obscure ground. In his climb to a peak no feet have ever trod, he seeks through a penumbra shot with flame, a veiled reality half known, ever missed, a search for something or someone never found, cult of an ideal never made real here, an endless spiral of ascent and fall, until at last is reached the giant point. So, where is the journey leading us? So, the traditional understanding is well, I mean, I'm talking now straight away from the traditional spiritual point of view that this journey comes to a close only when you uh, exit earth, which means basically moksha, which makes this entire wheeling quite senseless. We see this question raised in Savitri by the queen herself. That what is all this? If at the end of it, there is some kind of an inalienable calm in which God sits. So until at last is reached the giant point. So, what is the culmination of the journey? It's hinted here, through which his glory shines, for whom we were made. So, this is the whole secret that it's not exiting life, but making sure that this body, mind, and life, our human personality, becomes an instrument for the divine outpouring, for the manifestation of the divine. So that's what the journey is about. And we break into the infinity of God. Across our nature's borderline, we escape into supernature's arc of living light. So this whole story that is going on in human life, it straight away orients us that where are we going? What is the aim of life? What is the larger purpose, scheme of things? So then it becomes very easy. It's like when you are going on a journey, this straight away sets not only the record state, but gives us the compass. So very often people say that, like you're coming from Delhi to Pondicherry, first time when you don't know anything about anything, you don't know about the language, you don't know how to navigate. And slowly as you come, you go through all kinds of experiences. Often people recount, oh, this happened, that happened. So the thing is ki baad mein, where did you reach? You reached at the samadhi, at the feet of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. So then you get it that all this was worthwhile. So we understand that this whole drama that is going on outwardly ultimately is reaching a point where there can be a perfect manifestation of the divine who is within us. So this is a departure from the traditional understanding and the whole struggle. So this struggle is with whom? Who is the opponent? Because in every heroic deed, there has to be an opponent. It appears as if the opponents are outside. But if you look closely, the opponent is also within us. And this opponent, which denies us, for every inch, he gives us a tough fight, which we always carry with us, is the very past. So what is this past? If you really look at the past, there are two elements in the past, the spirit and the form. So that's where we see that we want to keep the old forms intact, but it is the spirit that has to come out, and because there is a need for the spirit to assume new forms. Now if we look back into the entire history of man's relationship with God, how does it climb? If you go to Egypt, the forms are largely animal forms. Even the gods, some of the gods, if you go back to the past, especially in Greek gods, Roman gods, they're pretty cruel, but they are superhuman kind of beings. Nordic gods, they are, if you read, but they were worshipped as gods. Why? Because they have greater power. Definitely they have greater power. And slowly, as the human soul ascends further and further, the gods also, our relationship with gods change. So we have a God fearing man at one extreme, and we have a God loving disciple at the other extreme. So slowly, this whole essential is where our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with the world, our relationship with the divine himself begins to change. So it's an epic in which the human soul expands, as he says, break into the infinity of God. And naturally, it's not an easy process. It has to be step-by-step process, stages and steps of the ascension. Because if we suddenly escape into the infinity of God, the word is break into the infinity of God, we will be overwhelmed. We'll be crushed down. So we have to go through so many challenges. It's like a child in the kindergarten. Parents might have conceived for the child that one day he will become a healer, or he will become flying an aircraft. But then you can't put him straight away, child in kindergarten, into a cockpit and say, Beta, Kingfisher Airlines se le le. We can't do that. He has to learn. He has to learn to become ready. So all that we are going through is preparation through all those various stages. And the beauty of Savitri is all these stages of the past human evolution are mapped out here. We have book 2, where all the stages from the man's humblest beginnings, where he is so closely identified with the animal, and even the animal evolution, and before the animal evolution, the evolution of just life in matter, and matter itself, how it has come into existence, right up to humanity in its rational curve and beyond reason. All that evolutionary stages are mapped out in Savitri, as if somebody is holding our hands and taking us through this vast panorama and telling us that, look, this is how you have to scale the heights. Wonderful. Who will scale the heights? And it may seem very intimidating, because whenever we read Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine, we get an impression that, my God, is this a journey we can really undertake? When people read about transformation, they just wonder, can I do it? Well, now comes the beautiful part of Savitri. So Savitri is the story of the Divine Mother's advent. Basically, Sri Aurobindo is telling us that we are not alone. Nobody is asking us to undertake this journey alone. Again, lines from Savitri: alive in a dead, rotating universe, we whirl not here upon a casual globe. A divine intervention thrones above. It starts with this line: yet a secret spiritual aid is there. So there is always help which is given to man. But the problem is we turn that help for petty things. It's like if you keep rushing to the king, he is your friend, and you keep telling him that, give me my 5 rupees 12 ana. So what did he say? After some time, he'll say, all this my peon will do. That's the end of the story. But if we go to the king, similarly, a relation with God, we keep going to the divine, but we ask for small things. But what he can do, he can give himself. There is a letter of Sri Aurobindo, the divine gives himself to those. Now, there is a caveat here, and there is a reason why there is a caveat. Who give themselves to the divine? Because that giving to the divine is a kind of complete preparation. It's an emptiness where we are completely relying on the divine. And then the divine, when he says yes and assumes charge, then nothing and nobody can stand in the way. So this to be seen Savitri very beautifully, because often people ask, हम लोग को क्या करना है? Because it's the ultimate message of Sri Aurobindo, ultimate scripture he has given to us. So very beautifully, there are two things. Doing a yoga like Ashwapati, we have to know, are we really that kind of a tapasvi? And Ashwapati is not just a tapasvi, he is the pioneer, he is the forerunner. There is a whole description which applies to Sri Aurobindo. So we'll just read that who is Ashwapati? It's a biography, as we know, not just a biography, a spirituography. It's a new term. You can't find it, huh? Because the moment you talk of spirituography, people speak of hagiography. It's a spirituography because biography was only about born and. But Sri Aurobindo and the mother have worked and labored upon earth for this grand consummation from life after life. If we look at their past lives, at every critical juncture, Mother speaks of that whenever there was a need to manifest a new ray, she was there, and Sri Aurobindo was there at all the critical junctures of history. So there is a frame of time when we are all alone, trying. I mean, there is a aid, but which is behind. And there are moments when humanity takes a leap. And at that point of time, the divine presence, which is leading us from behind, suddenly steps into the forefront. In India, we use the word avatar. So that's when he does the leading. And that happens when humanity gets so much logged into the outer forms, the dharma se glani. It has got it all wrong. The dharma, which is meant for unfolding, it fixes it into a very rigid framework, useful at a point of time, but it loses its value at another point of time. That's why, if you treat a 5-year-old child till 5 years of age, you do a lot of, lollipopping or mollycoddling to the child. 5 to 15, you have to equip the child. Your treatment has to be very different. You have to empower the child. After 15, the child has to take on his own challenges, and you are always there, with the child. So there is a difference from stage to stage as humanity evolves. So there is a point when there is a critical leap to be taken, when there is a crisis, a transition. That's the time when the divine comes in the forefront. The same divine who is hidden inside and carrying us suddenly steps in the forefront. It's an intervention from the Supreme. And that's what is called as the avatar. And that is what the mother and Sri Aurobindo are. In Savitri, we see that it's represented as Ashwapati and his daughter Savitri. So it's their biography, and because it's a joint biography, for the first time we have the dual power together. So it's both Sri Aurobindo and the mother. Sri Aurobindo is writing, his consciousness is there, and ultimately is writing the ultimate story of the Divine Mother's life, because she has come here as a Divine Mother. All that we read about Savitri is essentially the Divine Mother's experiences, and all that we read about Sri Aurobindo are Sri Aurobindo's experiences. So we see who is Sri Aurobindo. Those who want to, that what is his, who is he? As we know, the dual avatar. One in the front of the immemorial quest. That's how there is a grand entrance. Because, in an epic, the hero is introduced. So here is the hero, protagonist of the mysterious play in which the unknown pursues himself through forms and limits his eternity by the hours. Page 22. And the blind void struggles to live and see, a thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, brought down to earth's dumb need her radiant power. So Sri Aurobindo is the divine, but the divine who is plunged into the inconscient, and from life to life, he is flowing, he is undertaken to lead the human journey. Always, he's been the leader of the human march in one form or another. And so we can say that he is our leader who is showing us the way. And then few lines below, his birth held up a symbol and a sign, his human self like a translucent cloak, covered the all-wise who leads the unseen world. So it is the same, the story of Jagannath, the Jagannath who is hidden in the temple steps out into the common. This the story. And that's how when Jagannath comes out, that's when humanity will realize its dream of unity in diversity. So this, though it's a outer story, but it preserves an inner truth. The inner truth is the day God will come and invade this life of clay, the outer life of man. That is the day when we'll realize the perfect collective kingdom of God upon earth. So, this is the whole background, affiliated to cosmic space and time, and paying here God's debt to earth and man. So that we read everywhere in Savitri again and again. I'm holding myself because it's a vast ocean. You feel like everything that you pick up, you can just drown into it. That he has come. What is the debt that we owe? Man owes. And what is there is a beautiful line in Savitri where he says that there is a debt that binds earth to the supreme. So what is the debt he is paying? Why does the divine take a human form? This is one of the mysteries, that he can do everything from above. He can suddenly, there will be lightning and thunder, and those who are evil will be dead. Divine never indulges in that kind of a job description. You see, Barbaric, what happened? He could have destroyed the entire Kaurava army in one moment. But Sri Aurobindo made sure that Barbaric is out of the battle. And the reason is very simple. The reason is it's not this side versus that side. This is one of the big mistakes we make. Both sides, of course, that has a truth, but we are not talking right now about that kind of a battle. That has its truth because they are representatives of evil, conscious representative, and they have to be removed from the way. But removing them from the way doesn't really solve the problem, because man still harbors. A hidden foe is lodged in the human breast. This all must conquer. So that's how this hidden foe, which is lost in the human heart, this has to be ultimately conquered. But sometimes this hidden foe takes an outer form and he has to be removed. So when mother was asked, "Oh, nice, Hitler is gone now, everything will be wonderful," she said, "No, no, no." He was a conscious emanation or a half conscious emanation of the Asura of falsehood. Hitler's death does not mean that the Asura of falsehood has gone. Asura of falsehood stays, moves human beings, continues to move. So, how he will go? Some magic? The magic has to be the inner alchemy, because if the divine suddenly destroys him, that whole earth will collapse. There will be another pralaya. And the reason why this would be so, why this is so, that why he is feeding or he is rushing into our veins and nerves, because the evolution has been through the inconscient. It's like it has inconscient keeps giving lease after lease. You know, we have a very nice story in the ashram which makes perfect sense. So we know that's tennis ground. So it's a land which was taken on lease. That time it was a very easy lease. But now, and it was a dump yard. So they gave one very small amount. But the mother and her children, inspired by her, turned it into a beautiful place. Now, when it turned into a beautiful place, now the inconscient, I mean, we'll come to the inconscient. Now the government said, we want it back. Why? Because they can build us hotel there. It's a prime spot. It was a quite a thing, that time Dada Pranabda, one of the persons who are directly involved, and ultimately now they have given it to the ashram permanently. Now see what happens. So inconscient releases matter. Okay, I'm conceding. It's like God and inconscient, there is a okay, you want some material unconscious world, no problem. It will remain asleep. Yeah, it will remain asleep. So we have the material world. That's what all this death will say subsequently. But it is there because it has come out of it. So the original papers are with this fellow, inconscient. It's on lease. And this journey goes on in ignorance from there, step by step, through the divine interventions, and it has come to man. Now this fellow is shaky. He says, "This lease I have given, now I want it back." I'm using it in the form of a story, and the whole thing collapses because it withdraws all support. So we have grown up. We all have a double birth. On one side, the material body and the mind, which is based on matter and the life impulse. All this is like a lease given by death, and mystics speak about it. Now, the moment we have to give it entirely, that, well, there is in us something which is originally from the divine, the soul. Soul is not on lease, it has entered consciously into the play. So the soul says, all this which is with me, I want to give it to the divine. He has a claim over it. Now the battle starts. As long as you live in, well, I can say Saudi Arabia or Syria, and you follow the Sharia law, there is no problem. You will get good houses, everything. The moment you say, no, no, deep inside me, I am carrying a dream of unity in diversity, next moment you are gone. So, this is the problem. Now, we have to make that leap of giving to the divine. There will be a battle because so much in our body, life, and mind is still supported by the inconscient. Every aspect, if you see the body's mechanical reactions, all this is there in Savitri. As I said, it like one could spend a week just understanding that part. So it starts withdrawing its support. Everything seems like a nature has put in fixed grooves to like a machinery. And you have to win back that no, now it won't be nature's unconscious machinery, but God has to drive. Now that's where the problem comes. So we have these lines where Sri Aurobindo describes the issue, where he says, all now seems nature's massed machinery 20. An endless servitude to material rule and long determination's rigid chain, her firm and changeless habits aping law. So you have karmic law on the one end is a rigid determinism. Karmic law at the other end, it's an evolutionary mechanism. So always at any given point of time, these are the two forces which are working. One which keeps us bound to the past habits, past ways of life, past modes of relating with divine. That's why the mother says in the eternity of becoming, each avatar is a forerunner of a more perfect future realization. But mankind has a tendency to worship the avatar of the past in opposition to the avatar of the future. So this is the problem which every time, and it's there in our very nerves. See, the nervous system responds so rapidly, let's say to a friend's voice that let's go, for an outing. Immediately it responds. But if there is a call of the divine, the flute of the divine, midnight, alone, with the divine flute, oh, this is all imagination. The nerves don't respond. They get tired, they sleep. So her empire of unconscious deft device annul the claim of man's free human will. He too is a machine amid machines. A piston brain pumps out the shapes of thought. A beating heart cuts out emotions, modes. An insentient energy fabricates a soul. So it continues, and at the end, always Shurvinda gives us hope. But wisdom comes and vision grows within. The nature's instrument crowns himself, her king. He feels his witnessing self and conscious power. His soul steps back and sees the light supreme. So, what is the truth that suddenly one realizes? A Godhead stands behind the brute machine. Now, this is the great truth which we are here to realize. And then to hand over this charge in the yoga of transformation, there is a detailed description the mother gives of transfer of power. Even when the soul says, Mother, my brain is yours, take it. Is it as simple as that? The entire inconscient puts it in a grove of. That's why somebody asked the other day, I was reading that, that it's okay that you start discovering who you are, who am I, but it's not easy. So then even the greatest yogis, they say, you have to learn to surrender. So what happens? You have to tell mother that mother, you have to do it. I don't know the way. The soul once awakened can do this very easily. So where in us, in Savitri, we see there is Sri Aurobindo as Ashapati, and we have the mother as Savitri. Where are we, fellows? Are we there or not? Yes, we are there. We are there as Satyavan. The soul of man caught in the ignorance. What is the yoga that Satyavan has done? When he sees Savitri, he says, I give myself to you. But he says that I don't want, see the beauty of Satyavan's choice. He doesn't want that, oh, you're a princess, now that I'm in love with you and you're in love with me, can you take me to your kingdom? He doesn't say that. See, the average soul chooses that. He chooses God as an exit, that in your heaven of beatitude, I want to live with you. Satyavan doesn't choose that. He says, will you come and be in my hermitage? And he says, I can offer only these things. The divine doesn't expect us to do great things. Like some people say, we have to conquer money for God. Well, first conquer the nature. Money is later. Nature is big enough. It will come as it has to come. So, because that the loop he will take. And so, what does Satyavan do? Satyavan doesn't make big deals. He doesn't, he simply says, will you, out of love, by your own choice, will you descend upon earth, upon whose sleep we lie? So that's it. Descend, oh happiness with thy moon gold feet. Now, the moment he says that, and the Divine Mother says, now this is the aspiration, not the aspiration to run away from earth in otherworldly experiences and all kinds of things, but stay here and the Divine Mother invite her. Some people try to pull. You cannot pull. You cannot drag. Imagine Satyavan saying, I've got a princess now. I'm going to drag you to my hermitage. She would have shown a Ranachandi Swarup. Like that's the mistake which Mahishasur did. He said, I want to marry you. Durga says, oh, you want to marry me? He says, if you don't marry me, I'll take you by force. Oh, good, come, we'll try force. Satyavan doesn't say that. He chooses the path of surrender. That here I am, take me the way I am. So we are in Satyavan's yoga is our yoga. And this should be the set time and game. And then what he does, death dances like anything, fate, everything conspire. Because every human soul which gives itself to the divine means now there is a chance of complete escape from the law of inconscience. That's why the conquest over physical death is seen as a crown. Because matter is the stronghold of inconscient. Death concedes, even to Savitri. He says, there may be, okay, fine, there is some God somewhere out there. But they can't do much here. They can only create ideals in the brain, which can never manifest. And then it says, yes, God is there, He is impersonal, calm. What has He got to do with love and all these emotions? Your brain is tricking you. All this He says, that ultimately man is just a bound creature. If you want freedom of God, leave this earth, leave Satyavan's dead body, leave this matter and go out. It's like a man on lease saying, you build whatever you want to build, but give me back this land. So that's why conquest over the physical world, material world, and outer nature is so important. Without this, divine life cannot be fully established. And it's a long project. That should be very clear. There's not a one day's thing. So this is the thing which is going on. And then when Satyavan is ultimately comes a point when he is assailed by death, where he is helpless. He says, maybe my karma, ultimately it comes to karma. He says, I am axing the tree in that one passage, small passage, 3 lines. Sri Aurobindo brings the essence of karma law as human beings understand. So Satyavan says, I am axing the tree and I feel the same kind of pain, a sharp pain in my hands. Clinicians will describe it as a heart attack. He'll say, probably it is the same pain which has come to me. It is so beautifully the whole thing of karmic law. But he does something which changes karma. Karma here is the fixed groove along which nature runs. What does he do? While he is dying, dead man's wish, he says, Savitri, oh my sun-bright Savitri, let me lay in your lap, kiss me a while. That maybe your kiss may bring me back or whatever has to happen. He abandons completely. See, this surrender must go to that point of utter abandonment. And there's very few can do this. And when he does this, then Savitri takes the complete burden. So this is the story where the Divine Mother, that's also Ashupati is the one who is here to pay on man's side the debt. And that is described in on page 67, when divine assumes a human body. The absolute, the perfect, the immune, one who is in us as our secret self, our mask of imperfection has assumed. He has made this tenement of flesh his own, his image in the human measure cast, that to his divine measure we might rise. This transfiguration is earth's due to heaven. That's the whole story in Surya Purana. And Mother says earth is a special formation from the Supreme. It's not just a formation of the nebula. That's there. But earth has been as if precipitated by the Supreme for a special purpose. So why? Because she is a goddess, she has chosen to renounce her godhead. Why? Because she has accepted. And that's why the divine comes again and again on earth. And well, to India. So one thing we can claim as our ultimate. बहुत बड़ी बात है, तुम रखो वो है ना डायलॉग की, मेरे पास ये है वो है सब है, मेरे पास तो माँ है करो. If you have to have the ultimate knowledge, you have to come. मेरे पास माँ है. So here comes, he says, a mutual debt binds man to the supreme, and human soul is also plunged into this night with this assurance from the divine that he will carry us, that he will take us, he will come again and again. So he is fulfilling that promise. So when in the Gita at the end, when Shri Krishna says, it's the eternal promise of the Lord that I'll fulfill this promise. So he comes again and again. His nature we must put on as he put ours. We are sons of God and must be even as he. His human portion we must grow divine, for life is a paradox with God for key. So this is what Sri Aurobindo's life represents. He represents the ascending element in humanity. He embodies the aspiration. He embodies the anguish. And he is out to find the ultimate solution. See, Buddha also saw suffering of earth, but he found one kind of solution. But Sri Aurobindo also saw the suffering of earth, but he found another kind of solution. Change human nature, change this earthly life into life divine. So for that, because it's difficult, near impossible for any human being to do it, so there is the intervention of the mother, and we see that he invokes the divine mother, calls the divine mother to step, and when the divine mother comes, now Ashupati is described as a pioneer and a forerunner. How is the mother described? Savitri, which is mother. Sri Aurobindo says that she, from her very childhood, from her very birth, she is divine. It's not that she is an avatar, he is not an avatar. That's the wrong interpretation. But their works are different. He represents the ascending element in humanity, and she represents the descending grace. She is an embodiment of grace, an embodiment of love. So he says, a spirit, a mediating ray had touched the earth, bridging the gulf between man's mind and God's. Its brightness linked our transience to the unknown. A spirit of its celestial source aware. Now you see, this is different, slightly different. Translating heaven into a human shape, descended into earth's imperfect mold, and wept not fallen to mortality. And he described that this is a task which they have been engaged in time to time. She took again her divine unfinished task, survivor of death and the aeonic years. Once more, with her fathomless heart, she fronted time. Again there was renewed, again revealed, the ancient closeness by earth vision veiled, the secret contact broken off in time. So this is a story which goes on. It's an epic which goes from life to life. We all have been together in this journey. It's just that, as Sri Krishna tells to Arjuna, that I know it you don't know it. So here again, there is a description of the Divine Mother embodying it. For with a greater nature she was one, as from the soil sprang glory of branch and flower, as from the animal's life rose thinking man. A new epiphany appeared in her. She is not representing the aspiration and the anguish which Ashwapati is carrying to her doorsteps. She is representing the answering grace. So already, if we read Mother's life, it's very amazing. All the possibilities of the body, possibilities of the mind, very new things. With Sri Aurobindo's life, it's different. So he says, a mind of light, a life of rhythmic force, a body instinct with hidden divinity, prepared an image of the coming God. So she has come with the supramental consciousness. That's why Sri Aurobindo says, turn to her, she alone. And even we know that when Sri Aurobindo withdrew physically, so he gave to the mother the charts. He said, you will have to fulfill because your body is better prepared for this transformation. And then, of course, he places in our hands Savitri to navigate through this journey. So we have this whole saga of Sri Aurobindo and the mother to fight the ultimate battle, which is to win back the land which inconscient gave on lease but always wants back. For that, human souls have to be there who give this whole thing in their freedom to the divine, that take it yours. Of course, the inconscient will create problems. It's like you have paid the money, but you cannot pay it in full. So there is, you are neither this way nor that way. How land mafia does. This is the original land mafia, inconscient. So he comes and gives the debt first. Sri Aurobindo comes and pays the debt on our behalf. He says, okay, you release it. He says, okay, you have paid the money. What about the interest? What about this? What about that? So then what do you do? When you have paid all amount, then you have to bring Shakti, Shakti Swarupa, power. So that's where we see the Divine Mother takes that ultimate battle. He will not let it go easily. And when that happens, but this surrender has to be a free will gift. And then, as happens, that whole journey, we know it's beautiful. Death challenges at every level that, well, man's mind cannot harbor the light, man's heart is not ready. He shows all the weak points. And Savitri answers them one by one. I'll just quickly read a little passage before we uh, break, because this is a very wonderful subject. Everything from Savitri is wonderful. So we'll just read a little bit. Yes, where she describes, she gives the logic that if earth can look up to heaven, and if in the inconscient void creation rose. So he's saying that, look here, all this has been conceded. So ultimately, God has already started working. So you have a choice to give it willingly, or you have, that's what she played with the Asura. Her first effort of the Divine Mother was to ask the Asura, are you ready to concede the land? Simply, land means material world, simply out of love. Now you see that the part of the story which very few people speak about. She had married the Asura falsehood. And she was trying that if he concedes, nothing else is required. He refused. He said, I want to be the sovereign. I have always been the sovereign. Now that's a very, very beautiful, interesting, fascinating tale. I want to be the sovereign. So, which obviously the mother did not agree. And she says, since man refused the meal, so she offered it back to God, that there has to be some other way. So they come together for this work. So that's to come to the long story short because of time, and where she reveals all these secrets, how the whole the bliss turned into, like, what is death, life concealing itself, what is inconscient, the spirit which the superconscient became inconscient. So all this is described here. And then she, toward the end, what will happen? Because people say that, well, okay, we'll just quickly read this line, also this little passage. If from a bodiless force matter was born, if life could climb in the unconscious tree, its green delight break into emerald leaves, and its laughter of beauty blossom in the flower, if sense could wake in tissue, nerve, and cell, and thought sees the grey matter of the brain, and soul peep from its secrecy through the flesh, how shall the nameless light not leap on men? And unknown powers emerge from nature's sleep. So matter has held back within itself the entire superconscious, and it will release. So the future will show itself up through new possibilities. My own understanding is, and which I see already happening, that while on material body, because this whole evolutionary problem is of the in the material body, that automatically as the supramental manifestation increases, we'll see more and more intuitive children who will come. Automatically their operating systems will change, and as it begins to change, they will not say that, some yoga, they will not define intuition. It's like we may not know that we are rational beings, yet reason operates. The animal doesn't have words that, we are driven by vitality. So these children will become more and more intuitive and cross over the borders. So we have toward the end, oh Savitri, that what will happen. So many lines, passages I had noted, but as sees here. So 1 second, I'll just, yeah. Okay, maybe this will be easier. Line with the place. Okay, so we come to this. Yes. So what will be the ultimate equation? Right now, we have one kind of equation with the divine. We are in ignorance. We have to step out of ignorance. And for that, we have to surrender ourselves to the Divine Mother and give ourselves entirely to her. It's not going to be easy because death is not going to leave. He may release the soul. He'll say, okay, you can go. But the moment you say, look here, in this body, the soul, the moment you say, but I have lived in this body, please allow me. He'll say, no way, you are a tenant. Come here, go there. We have great spiritual thinkers who say like this. You are a tenant. But then who owns this place? My question always used to be that who owns this place? I'm a tenant, I understand. And of course, ignorantly owning it is obviously absurd. But the moment you give it, it will say, this is not yours. You stay away from this. So this is the problem. And so when ultimately the boon is given, what will be our role in creation? First step is freedom from ignorance, discovering the divine presence through surrender to the Divine Mother. After that, O Satyavan, O luminous Savitri, I sent you forth of old beneath the stars, a dual power of God in an ignorant world. So now Ashwapati is withdrawn. Sri Aurobindo steps into the background and leaves all of us in charge of the, with the mother in charge of all of us. And it's a long journey. So he places in our hands Savitri as a guide. And of course, surrender to the Divine Mother as the path. I sent you forth of old beneath the stars, a dual power of God in an ignorant world. You are my force at work to uplift earth's fate, myself that moves up the immense incline between the extremes of the spirit's night and day. He is my soul that climbs from nescient night through life and mind and supernature's vast to the supernal light of timelessness. He is the Godhead growing in human lives and in the body of earth beings' forms. He is the soul of man climbing to God in nature's surge out of earth's ignorance. O Savitri, thou art my spirit's power. So that whole thing is revealed. Now, ultimately, once the Divine Mother adopts us as a living ground, then what happens? And there will be more and more transformation as it proceeds. Now there will be a new play in which the soul will be engaged as her child participating in the original venture. The original venture always was to transform this inconscient. So this is the whole story. And I close with what Savitri itself is, the book. It is described beautifully, what kind of epic it is in few words, and then we will close. And this Sri Aurobindo describes toward the end of Book 2, Canto 8. After he has traversed the worlds of falsehood. See, this is something unique about Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Mystics speak about wonderful worlds above. That is Ghata Andar Bagh Bagiche. They speak about worlds of splendor. They speak about, my Lord has many mansions which are beautiful. But here is a mystic speaking about the horrors of hell and the dark night and the fires that torment. So, what does he speak about it? What is this? He says, there, what does he saw? He saw in night the eternal's shadowy veil, knew death for a seller of the house of life. In destruction felt creation's hasty pace, knew loss as the price of a celestial gain, and hell, hell as a shortcut to heaven's gates. Now, why I'm laughing is, see, these lines, every line is like a mantra. Whole of Savitri is the mantra of transformation. But look at these lines. How uplifting. So when you are going through hell, don't blame God. You say, he has chosen to take me through the shortcut. There is a line in Savitri, digging a tunnel through emergency. So he chose to take us through shortcut. Fine. But he is there. That's the beauty. So Sri Aurobindo has dug through that tunnel, seen that entire dark world, and Mother's many works, even about the domain of death, but we don't have time to touch upon all that. But here is a description of the birth of Savitri, the book. What kind of epic is it? So, first, the something about the author who has written it. The skillful, page 232, the skillful penman's unseen finger wrote his swift, intuitive calligraphy. See, beauty of calligraphy is that everything is so beautiful. And it applies at both levels. It's in the book, it is written not that this is how Savitri was written, but when you apply it, like many things, it's so beautiful. Earth's forms were made as divine documents. So, what do we find in Savitri? Everything comes up with a divine meaning and a divine purpose. That's something very beautiful in Savitri. Mountains and rivers, as he goes through all the planes of consciousness, everything comes alive. Even in an insect, he says, Ashupati did not see like that. Like he says that one would say, what a meaningless world it is. Why God created this? Then he says that even in that world, Ashupati does not see like that. He sees they are the first steps of a laboring force. So it's not that ki chiti mein bhi Bhagwan hai. Huh? But when you say that is the divine who is working in that towards releasing that energy towards a greater and greater form, then it is like a aha experience. So in Savitri, all this is revealed. The wisdom embodied mind could not reveal. Inconscience chased from the world's voiceless breast. This my experience of many others. If you are depressed, if you are in a state of inertia, dullness, obscurity, as if you are taking a dip in Patal Ganga. Patal Ganga, but is different. It's purifying. But Savitri is that Patal Ganga. If you take a dip in Patal, this Ganga is there to lift us out. So inconscience, it chases away. Transfigured by the fixed schemes of reasoning thought. The same reasoning which will say, no, there is no divine, it automatically changes. You begin to understand the logic of the infinite. This is the effect of Savitri. Not of any tapasya yoga. Just reading Savitri does this in us. It washes away that fixed reasoning thought. Oh, something bad happened, therefore where is God? You may end up saying, oh, something like this happened. God is very near. You see it? There's a beauty. It gives us a very new vision. Arousing consciousness in things inert. So what is Savitri? It arouses consciousness, awakens us. He imposed upon dark atom and dumb mass the diamond script of the imperishable. All these wars are going on. This may stay, that may stay. Civilization may stay or not stay. But Savitri is imprinted upon earth now. Once Sri Aurobindo and the mother or the avatar takes a human body, his imprint is there on matter. And now there is the imprint of Savitri. It will bring out everything once again and releases towards the truth. So it is imposed, it's a diamond script of the imperishable, inscribed on the dim heart of fallen things, a pained song of the free infinite. Don't try to understand Savitri, or having understood, say, I have understood Savitri. Say that I stand under Savitri. Maybe something of her light will come in, something of her love will arouse. The moment we say, I have understood Savitri, that means we have just made a fool of ourselves. Divine will just clap. Savitri is a revelation and it can only be revealed. And it can be revealed only by grace. There is no other way. It doesn't mean that somebody who knows about poems a lot, who has read many poems, knows what is iambic pentameter and all that, is more qualified. No, none of this. It's a revelation. Revelation is understood only by grace. Jaki kripa lavleshate matimanda tulasi dasaho. It's like that. So that's what is the joy of surrender. And the name, foundation of eternity. Name is the first vibration of the Supreme. So that vibration, which has stirred the vibration of delight with which creation started, the original vibration, foundation of eternity, the two are always together. That is what Savitri has captured. We may use words like overmind and supermind, but it is that vibration it has captured and traced on the awake, exultant cells, on all that was listening, in the ideographs of the ineffable, the lyric of the love that waits through time, and the mystic volume of the book of bliss. The sign that one is understanding Savitri is that one experiences joy. If one is only feeling a kind of intellectual satisfaction that I have understood the meaning of this word, but if joy comes, because it's the book of bliss, mystic volume of the book of bliss, and the message of the superconscient fire. So Sri Aurobindo said that it is his ultimate message, and it is the lyric volume, love that waits through time. And that's what the Divine Mother and Sri Aurobindo are. Divine Mother has been waiting through time. And our souls have reached that point where now we can have the Milan, our real mother, our lost identity of being her eternal child. And then a new game begins. And that whole game is also revealed in Savitri, the world book of the future, scripture of the future. Jema, so we can have some questions. So I've rushed through, in fact, bullet train speed. Sorry for that, but there's no choice. Yeah.
Yes, Monica. There are two raised hands already.
Yes.
Monica and then Karthik, please.
Namaste, Alokda. Thank you so much for this
Namaste.
wonderful talk. As you said, there's through shortcut divine takes us, but there is a resistance always. And there is a surrender, there is a triple labor of aspiration, rejection, and surrender, but there is a lot of resistance in each step. Any insight on that?
More and more. Increase the aspiration and increase the surrender. Don't focus on the resistance and the difficulty. See, what he does is he tries to draw our attention. By he, I'm saying the inconscient. He tries to draw our attention. I'll give you an example. Oh, I have got joint pains. Oh, I have this. There's always an oh, ouch. And then, if you go to a doctor or a psychologist, sorry, he'll make it worse. And then some spiritual person will say, your karma. So, what is happening is our attention is being focused on the difficulty. Focus on the hands that save. There is nothing impossible for the grace, and it means I surrender the resistance also to her. I surrender all that in me is refusing to follow the path. I surrender that, Mother, this is what I am, a bundle of whatever mixed potpourri. You take it into your hands and shape it. Now it requires faith. So it's always a leap of faith and courage. And faith, because it means, like Satyavan, she says, maybe death is there. Doesn't matter. You will take me through everything. It requires a tremendous. So we can supplement that surrender with aspiration. But if there is a complete self-giving and surrender, actually nothing more is needed. Sri Aurobindo says all can be done by the divine. Heart and mind purified, everything, ignorance removed. If the soul can give itself. Now this, if one can do, it's an abandon, like Satyavan does. Uh, of course, it won't be tamasic, it is understood, because there is no force in it. But one has tried and failed, and the resistance is, that's what I imply, that it's the question is at a very advanced level, not the usual one. Then make the complete abandonment to the Supreme Mother and let her do whatever she wants with our mind, life, and body. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Karthik, please go ahead.
Uh, Thank you so much for the wonderful talk. I have two questions. One is, as you know, Sri Aurobindo speaks about psychic transformation, spiritual transformation, and supramental transformation. So, does each person have to go through all the three transformations, like both psychic and spiritual, to reach supramental transformation?
Yes, that is indispensable, because without the psycho-spiritual, let's put it like that, terminology used by Sri Aurobindo, our nature cannot chelo the supramental influx. It'll break down, because psychic transformation orients our will and thoughts and feelings to the right and the light. That's important. And the spiritual transformation opens it to the working of the higher forces. It's like, what are these higher forces, beings, and powers? Kind of mold us. It's like, you, I'm using an analogy, that if you suddenly cast something into a 4,000 degree Celsius, straight away you cast something which is not ready. Like you raise the power of the oven. Okay, that's the right thing. So you put dough in the oven and raise it to the highest. I'm sorry, I'm not an expert in making cake, but I presume if you and too much, it is. So you have to gradually ready by these constantly to bear the weight of the supramental. That's the challenge which Ashwapati is told by the Divine Mother herself. And then the Supreme tells the Divine Mother that, look here, man is too weak to bear the infinite's weight. So psycho-spiritual transformation is a must. And that has been overemphasized by Sri Aurobindo himself. The psychic being first discovery, it should step out in the forefront. Even in Savitri, I'll quote those lines, that when she starts on this journey of conquest of death, then it is said that, but first, the heavenly psyche hid in the heart must um, take out its veils and step into common nature's, ordinary nature's common room. Let me just read those lines. It'll just take one moment. It's beautiful, which describes precisely this process, that what is really required as the yoga starts. So yes, so we have, it's in book 7, canto 2. So we have toward the end of this, that Savitri is sitting and contemplating. And yes, so it is on page 486. So it's a long passage. I'm just reading the last few lines. It marked her the center of a wide drawn scheme. Her, here is Savitri, dreamed in the passion of her far-seeing spirit to mold humanity into God's own shape and lead this great, blind, struggling world to light, or a new world discover or create. Earth must transform herself and equal heaven, or heaven descend into earth's mortal state. So this is the yoga. But for such a vast spiritual change to be, out of the mystic cavern in man's heart, the heavenly psyche must put off her veil and step into common nature's crowded rooms. This only will make us surrender. Mind will always resist. It will say give and take. Vital will do the same thing. But psychic, when it steps and step into common nature's crowded rooms and stand uncovered in that nature's front and rule its thoughts and fill the body in life. Later on, this whole process is described when she discovered the soul. And as the psychic steps into the forefront, all the chakras open wide into the universal consciousness and their whole orientation changes. So that's why psychic change and spiritual change, they go together hand in hand in this yoga. So we can use the word psycho-spiritual transformation is necessary.
And the transforming the body only comes at the supramental transformation.
Last. Sri Aurobindo has used the word wait for a few hundred years. So lot has to happen. Yeah. So yes, at the end, it's the crowning thing.
Thank you.
रावण वध अंत में होता है भाई, बहुत सारे उसके पहले.
Chitra, please go ahead.
Hi, Alokda. Thank you
Hi.
so much. I've heard your Savitri Yajna so many times, yet a very new flavor today. So thank you.
Jai.
My
Yes.
question is further on Monica's thing. You answered it beautifully. Your last passage also clarified a bit, but the psychic has not opened. Lot more work to do. So on our daily small things that we promise the mother, and then there is doubt. It's not resistance, but there is doubt. Is this right? Is that so? How do we deal with it? Yes, faith, but little more.
So we have in the story itself. I'm answering now based on Savitri because that's the background. So what does Satyavan do? He says, you come to my hermitage. And can you dally with fatigue? Meaning thereby he is involving Savitri in everyday activity of life. So that's one take home point. Second is Dyumat Sena is blind, like our mind. So we have to decide who takes the leading. So leading has to be by the Satyavan in us, which means we have the prompting of the soul and we have the doubting mind. So we have to ask the mind, look here, you don't really know. And let's the Satyavan in us do the leading, increase the surrender more and more, aspire more and more. And eventually, as a point will come when the psychic will step out. It's a journey in itself because mind will resist all that is described in Savitri itself in book 7. The vital will give all kinds of experiences, many of them pseudo experiences, and make us feel, we are in some la la land and things like that. Body will resist. So one has to just persist, persevere patiently with complete faith in the Divine Mother that he who has given himself to her. One thing is for sure, what Sri Krishna says in the Gita, that there cannot be anything but Param Gati. Don't worry about the outer mind. Tell that fellow, okay, you continue with your rant. I'll increase my surrender. But involve her in everyday life. That's what Satyavan does.
Everyday offering.
Every day, in every
Ah,
activity. That's what is meant by his saying that, will your body dally with fatigue? I have only these things to offer to thee, the food I eat, the stream, the little house. Are you ready to accept them? So everything has to be offered.
Yes, Soumitra ji, please go ahead. Unmute yourself. I know we are, yes.
Jai Shri Ma. Actually, this is a very naive question. I've tried to study the, Savitri, but it is completely, I don't understand even a single line. So, sir, for a lay sadhak, how to start?
Very simple. See, whether you touch the fire knowing its guna, or you touch the fire without knowing its guna or properties, what it will do? It will burn you. So take the recipe is read Savitri. Don't worry about not understanding. Because many people don't read thinking that we don't understand. Now, this is what is not to be done. Read it, understanding will come later because it's like you take a capsule on faith and it will work in the system. So Savitri is like that remedy, which if we read every day, read a little, start from anywhere, start from beginning, mind will come, oh, what is the story and what is all this? For that, there are plenty of talks. Incidentally, I myself, every line of Savitri talks have been given, the whole passage, canto, and on Oroma, even line by line summary is fully available. It's going to come as a hard copy also. But that apart, even if you don't have anything, doesn't matter. Just read, knowing that, well, it is nothing else but the mother and Sri Aurobindo's Kripa Prasad to us. So eat it with that spirit that when we eat Tirupati ka laddu or Jagannath ka prasad, we don't inquire ki kaise bana hai. It doesn't matter. You may know the ingredients, you may not know the ingredients, but prasad is prasad, it will have an effect. So read it with that faith in the heart and see the magic. It will begin to work. Don't worry.
Thank
Even
you,
if you don't understand English language, it will work. So that's not just my experience, but that's a long story of people reading Savitri, but engage with Savitri. If you can do even that, nothing, just keep it by your side on the pillow. I've seen this work.
Yes.
Engage with Savitri. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you.
Jai Ma.
Bijoy, I think that will be the last question for the day, and then
नमस्कार
Namaste.
आलोक भाई थैंक
Dr.
यू
Alok,
वेरी
thank
मच
you so much.
हाँ, बोलिए.
Thank you so much. I'm Ranganaiki Rajagopalan.
Okay.
Really, it's a, what you call, I don't know what to say. Like, my life has undergone a turbulent in for so many years. I haven't taken the refuge of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So it has changed a lot. But still, there are lot many things have to undergo change. So I'm daily praying
Yes.
Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Thank you so much.
Just surrender more and more, take more and more refuge. Yes, we have to go through things. There is a passage in Savitri. Maybe that can be our closing take home point. Life can be very tough, and it's there in the book of fate. So, what we should do. So, with that passage, we can close. So, in thy heart passage through a suffering world, Lane, because you reminded me of that, because, this is a problem we all. Yes, so page 451. O mortal, bear this great world's law of pain. In thy heart passage through a suffering world, lean for thy soul's support on heaven's strength. This Narad speaking. One of us will say on mother's strength. But heaven with a capital H means that. Turn towards high truth, aspire to love and peace. A little bliss is lent thee from above, a touch divine upon thy human days. Make of thy daily way a pilgrimage, for through small joys and griefs thou movest towards God. Haste not towards Godhead on a dangerous road. Don't go by impatiently. Through small joys and griefs, thou movest towards God. Make of thy daily way pilgrimage, and in difficult times, a prayer upon the lips and the great name. That's what Sri Aurobindo advises in Savitri.
Okay, thank you.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
thank you. Thank you so much, Alok Bhai. Bijoy, we'll take your question tomorrow if that's all right.
श्योर श्योर
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alok Bhai, for
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know what words can
No,
suffice.
we'll meet tomorrow.
Just we'll meet tomorrow,
Thank
and
you. Thank you.
and I just want to know that if people want to stick around for a little bit longer, the arrangement will be there. So those who have some more questions,
Yes,
we
tomorrow
can-
I'll also come
Yeah.
prepared that maybe, we'll be another
yeah,
20
we
minutes.
can
maybe
take it up
longer.
to 7:15. So that's not a problem.
Seven, definitely, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So
thank you.
please bring your questions. So we'll
Okay.
close with just a few moments of silence. And if you
Okay.
want to leave, you can leave. I'll just stop the recording and we'll just sit in silence for a few minutes.